these. All right. Thank you, Athena. And we'll move on now to the fiscal year 2025-26 insurance renewal report. And I'll ask Gwendolyn to introduce this topic, and then turn to the members of the finance committee to make a motion.
Thank you very much, Eagles. The report is before everyone, so I'll just give a very quick summary and high-level overview in terms of the insurance renewal and the updates. So speaking first, and then on that day, there are 4 insurance that is expected need to be renewed, which is of the commercial general liability, the abuse coverage, the directors and officers liability, and also the property liabilities for the content. A quick update in terms of the insurance or the broker that we're working with. Our existing broker is Marsh, and then we have instructed and working with Marsh to actively seeking multiple quotes around the market. And from high level, they expect the market outlook is premium expect to be either similar to last year, or there's a slight decrease on per unit basis. And as part of the board instructions, we also seeking alternate quote with BFL Canada. And right now, I'll just quickly going into some commercial general liability updates and the appropriate quote that was provided by 2 brokers. So Marsh, they initially have projected the commercial general liability, the CGL premium will be approximately $100,000, which is comparable to last year. While with BFL, they have presented a proposal which also included abuse coverage. And for this proposal, it's actually a like-for-like basis. So their proposal is identical to the proposal with Marsh in terms of coverage, except they included the abuse coverage into it at the cost of $95,000. And going down into the earthquake deductible buy-down. So this is as part of the Finance and Audit Committee applied staff to look into it, and looking at the property value that is including both Westbrook Community Center and Oakland Community Center, based on the 2023 UBC assessment, is approximately $19 million. And the deductible at 10%, it means the UNA can potentially facing close to $1.9 million if we see both buildings are completely collapsed and require replacement. And we reached out to Marsh to provide a quote for the earthquake buy-down, but unfortunately, since we cannot get the policies from UBC, we are still working with UBC Safety and Risk to retrieving the policy, but at the time being, we are not able to do that. Hence, Marsh is not able to provide a quote for earthquake buy-down. While for BFL, they have presented 2 options, which are one at around $9,500, another at $14,000. And going down to the cyber insurance coverage, we were able to receive a quote from both Marsh and BFL Canada. And just a quick summary, looking into the estimate total that is provided by 2 different brokerages, from Marsh and from BFL. Because BFL was able to create a more efficiencies through internalized abuse coverage within the CFL, the commercial general liability. It means there is some savings and efficiency generated at approximately $38,000. And that's about it from my updates, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion and then we can start our discussion? Okay.
Recommend that the board authorize the CAO to agree on behalf of the UNA to insurance coverages for the period July 2025 and June 30th, 2026.
Second.
I second it.
Seconded by Ron. All right, is there are there any questions or discussion? Sandy?
I didn't get clear. So do we need to vote for BFL or MARSH? No.
So my understanding of what's happening here is that we are, or the staff is still in the process of getting final quotes from the two, and are not yet in a position to determine which will be the most cost effective. And because of the pressing nature of the insurance renewal, because policies is begin July 1st, we need to authorize the staff to complete the insurance renewal on their own, keeping in mind that they're getting competing quotes and will get the insurance that's in the best interests of the UNA. I hope I'm expressing that correctly.
I get some clarification from Wayland. Are we just waiting on Marsh to get an earthquake deductible quote? Is that what we're waiting on? Is that the only thing we're waiting on?
For the Marsh, in terms of the quote, they are not able to provide the commercial general liability quote because they were blocked from the market as according to them, they said BFL they received brokers of records from BFL, so they are not able to renew or to provide a quote for the CGL at the moment. And then in terms for the buy down itself, I'm working with UBC Risk to get the policies information from the insurance, but at this moment, we haven't received anything yet.
I'm a little confused because I've been involved in doing this before. I'm having trouble with the Marsh explanation that they can't get a quote since they were on the market before BFL.
So it might be worth me stepping in at this point in time. We can only relate to the board what we've heard from Marsh and the reasons for them being able or not able to provide the information that we've requested. That's the only information we have. We can't speak to it. At this point, we need to move forward, obviously, with insurance, and we will engage the most financially efficient and effective group of policies based on the board's direction. The proposed motion that's on the table gives that authority to myself to sign off on it, and without saying it, I'll say it. The likelihood is, or the extreme likelihood is that we're changing to a new provider based on the savings and perhaps during this process some of the performance of our existing broker. Having said all that, it's been a bit of a complicated process because of the introducing kind of broker competition into the process of actively going to market. But we've, I think, come out on the other side of I think a more beneficial insurance program. We may have some tweaks yet to do between now and signing, but we're in a good position subject to the board's direction.
Just want to get something clear. If Marsh does not come out as a CGL quote, then I assume we will be one of this BFL.
I think based on the numbers and the estimate that Marsh has provided, even if Marsh comes with a CGL number between now and the renewal date, I think it would be less financially competitive than the BFL proposal, but we wouldn't know that until we do. I think my expectation is the board should be quite comfortable that we'll be moving forward with financially efficient and effective insurance coverage and some savings within our budget for this year as a result.
Jacob?
Just for Wegland's benefit and for the others about the earthquake deductible. The earthquake deductible, that liability of around $2 million, it doesn't matter what kind of damage you have. You don't need a total collapse of the building. You only need less than $2 million worth of damage to be liable for up to that amount. So it could be cracks in the walls, cracks in the floors. It doesn't need to be a total destruction to be liable for that. The first $2 million worth of damage in any kind of earthquake, which even a big shaker will cause significant damage. So it's not a total destruction. It's basically everything that's going to happen.
Yango, and then Sandy.
I have a question. So we appreciate if Marsh can provide us an explanation for why we are not seeing with Marsh for them that they are not able to provide quotes on the general liability, because usually aside per perspective of the strata council, it's not unusual for them to have a comparison for the quotes, and just we like an explanation for why they are blocked from that as a result of the broker of record. So these will require further explanation from the Marsh for this scenario. And accounting for the time that confinement that we're facing is also very pressing. We trust the staff will do and ask for best interest of the unit to pursue a quote that is significantly lower in terms of the financial stress and budget, and to act on behalf for best interest for the community.
So, yeah, thank you for that. There is no more explanation from Marsh about their reasons for not providing that. The explanation has been provided to us that as a result of introducing second broker and signing priority, Marsh has told us that they were blocked from the London market in working with others. We followed that up with the other broker to find out more information, and we don't see that there wasn't that opportunity, but this is what Marsh has told us, and we have no more information to provide to the board on the rationale, the reasons behind Marsh's approach here than that.
Okay.
Sure, Yanbo, and for others, when you get into competitive bids with brokers, you'll find that it's free for all, and they'll use every excuse why they can or cannot do certain things. So you have to take anything that they're saying with a grain of salt, and you have to go forward with the best plan that's provided to you.
Sandy.
Firstly, I would like to make a comment. Appreciate our team during this short time. This first time, perhaps for the procurement, we have asked more options, and during the strategic time, you did a great job, I think. And from my perspective, I think we can vote based on the current information. Already, it's enough, I think, for me. Yeah, and Marsh, perhaps some reasons there, but that is competitive, that is market. Any reasons, if you want to do business, it's your choice, it's your way, you do it. So I don't know if right or wrong, but I think we can vote now, but I don't know the procedures. Still learning. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think if we are done discussing, then we can in fact vote. Or Ron, you want to speak?
We already got.
You want to vote?
No,
Okay.
we already got on the tip.
It's on the table, so if we're done with questions of discussion, then I'll call the motion. I'll read the motion and then we will take a vote. So the motion is that the board authorize the CAO to agree on behalf of the UNA to the insurance coverages for the period July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026. All in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And with that, we move on to the Governance and Human Resources Committee report. And in particular, what we have here is a report and a motion on the annual general meeting for 2025. So I'll let Chris introduce this, and then as the chair of the GHR committee, I will make the motion.
The report and its accompanying recommendation is before you. It contains the details related to our 2025 annual general meeting. As noted in the report, the UNA is required to host a general meeting annually per the Societies Act and its own bylaws. The board in specific is responsible for confirming the date, time, and location of the AGM, along with approving the proxy form contained in the notice package. This year, you'll see in the report that we're piloting a couple language accessibility initiatives. This is based off the feedback that we've received from residents at last year's annual general meeting. In particular, we will be translating the notice of the meeting package that you see in this meeting's package into a range of different languages that we commonly translate in other similar events such as our elections. In addition, we will have a Chinese Mandarin interpreter at the meeting as well, specifically to provide translation services for the Q&A portion of the AGM. We're hoping to assess these pilots at this AGM, and following that will determine whether we'd like to expand some of these language accessibility initiatives in future AGMs, potentially other languages, or how we can provide language accessibility services at these meetings in different forms as well. But with that, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks, Glenda, also for your work preparing for the annual general meeting. So I will move that the board confirm that UNA will hold the 2025 AGM on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, commencing at 7 p.m. in the Westbrook Community Center, and that the board approve the 2025 notice of annual general meeting package. Seconded by Sandy. And any questions or discussion? Sandy?
Question is on page 69, the black part. So that is my point is, do we need to point out is university neighborhoods, roads, sidewalks, community centers, and parks, and oversee public rail. So this public rail, if we do not indicate it, is university neighborhood, roads, sidewalks, or public realms, perhaps confusing sometimes is university. Since not all roads is our parks, right? It's only neighborhood, university neighborhoods, roads and something, but the public realms. So that is my point.
It is, generally speaking, confusing about jurisdictions. However, I worry that adding additional words to that section may confuse residents even more potentially, although I could be wrong. Any other thoughts?
So we've included that piece just to give a sense or a flavor of what the UNA does, because some people receive this information and they've never been to an AGM or they don't know what's discussed at the AGM. So we kind of just let them know that this is what we do, and if you actually want to, be part of this discussion, you can come to the AGM and learn about the stuff that the UNA does there. So it's more of a just an introduction, really, and we're not hoping to educate everybody on every particular area that we have jurisdiction on this short introduction, right?
Yes.
So you think that will be more confused. Why? Thank you.
Well, I guess from what I understand, you want us to include a distinction between infrastructure that is maintained by the UNA and infrastructure that is outside of the UNA's jurisdiction. Is that what I'm understanding? It just seems like a lot of additional information and probably superfluous, although there might be a perfect formulation that could make that clear, but I don't know that if we would find that. Yeah, Chris?
You can take a second look at this after the meeting to see if there's anything there. Really, it's just supposed to be a very brief introduction to the UNA and what the general meeting is. Like Glenda mentioned, it really is a brief paragraph. I don't think I'd ever be able to explain what the UNA does in a brief paragraph with all that comes to it. We'll see what we can do with that small portion. If there's any improvements that we can make to make it seem less confusing. But yes, it's a very small and immaterial part of the notice.
I think the point here is we gotta approve the date. Yeah. The notice going out can be worked on.
We are voting to approve the package, the meeting package, but if we want to suggest a slight change to the wording, I think we can do that without having an amendment necessarily. Carol is.
I just wonder if you inserted the word neighborhood, it would address Sandy's interest. That's very simple. It supports the development of vibrant, livable neighborhoods for residents of UBC. It operates and maintains key neighborhood infrastructure.
That would that work? Would that be helpful?
Yeah, more accurate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch that? That's an elegant solution. Thank you, Carol. Okay. Any other thoughts on the meeting package or the details of the annual general meeting? Okay. Well, we will hold a vote shortly. So I won't reread in its entirety, but we're voting on a motion to hold the annual general meeting on September 23rd at 7 p.m. and the notice of annual general meeting package included here. All in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Mark your calendars, everyone. Great. Our last item on the agenda is the Community Engagement Advisory Committee report. There's minutes are included in the meeting package. Is there any additional reporting that you'd like to do yet, or is it just for our information?
For information, the report is before you. So there are two major milestones that the committee think it will be of the interest on behalf of residents to move forward. And the very first and foremost is the strata engagement. As it was suggested brought up, and also carried in the April meeting that directs that the committee suggested the UNA Strata Council be utilized to distribute materials to promote the UNA membership. And there is also the second part, which is related to the UNA plus Strata engagement, which is directing the staff and also recommends the UNA Board of Directors to request the committee to submit proposal to boost the Strata membership drive. And the whole rationale behind is, as we observed in the previous election, that there was the turnout rates of around 1,000 out of the existing 15,000 residents in our neighborhood. And also, given it is also in the ongoing phase of the strategic planning in our community, and also we are approaching AGM, and the rationale behind it is for residents information to get to know more of our governance structure, of our capabilities and our limitations, and enhancing our structure. And more importantly, it is our neighbors' agreements, and also to understand our governance is more like at the level of BC Society Acts. So these will like promoting a stronger connection between UNA and the residents will help us to improve the strata engagement and to help the residents to understand more of our community and our neighborhoods.
Okay, so am I understanding correctly that there's not a formal recommendation at this time, but this is something that you're pursuing, and then you may come back to the board with a formal recommendation, but also I guess we can note that our communications director joins in your meetings and so is also aware of the communications aspects of what you've been discussing. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think what we'd like to do, if you have a blending itself, is really go through strategy, because we recognize that the way to get in residents and get them involved with GNA and become members, a lot of times is through the stratas. Unfortunately, for example, our strata, we have a welcome package. I looked at it, we have no mention of UNA in it. Okay, and that's pretty common. So I always go back to Churchill's wilderness years. You get the government you deserve, and don't shut the vote.
I guess they got us. Thank you, Ron, thanks, Yambo, and I think what I'm hearing is it would be a good idea for us to set up a meeting in the near future between the board members who are on the CPAC and Glenda, and we could talk about possible initiatives that the board could get behind in the near future. So I'll work with you to schedule that. So thank you. Great. So that brings us to the end of our open session, and very shortly then we will adjourn for some food, and then we'll come back in 15 minutes. Well, let's say waiting for 7:25 to start the closed session, but everyone in the meantime is welcome to join for lunch. And now I will move that the board adjourn into a closed session to discuss matters related to discussions and dealings with other entities or individuals where disclosure of the information being discussed can be harmful to UNA's interests, receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, communications necessary for that purpose, and the approval of minutes for a closed session